I'm Ric Edelman. Ever dreamed of starting your own restaurant? You'll see the reality behind that fantasy from a top chef and restaurateur. Plus, the biggest investment ripoffs, the real cost of a Harvard education, and how the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond found out that, well, in Russia, everyone doesn't. Don't know what I mean? Well, you soon will. Stay tuned for this week's edition of The Truth About Money.
Best-selling author and founder of one of the nation's largest financial planning firms, Ric Edelman.
Everyone knows that chefs depend on great recipes and great service to create the experience that keeps diners coming back. But it's not enough to make a restaurant successful. You also need a financial structure that lets you make money running a restaurant. Investment advisor Anderson Wozni went to Frederick, Maryland for one chef's recipe for making money.
This building, it's very charming. People know what this is. It's the old professional building. It used to be doctors' offices. People's children were born here, and it makes it a unique opportunity for people to come in now and experience the building on a different level.
We're here today with Brian Voltaggio of Volt Restaurant in Frederick, Maryland. And tell me a little bit about your restaurant, Brian.
Volt is about utilizing local, sustainable, organic ingredients. Our cuisine is progressive American, modern. Our approach is, to have a lot of fun.
Is it more cost effective to go local?
Cost effective, not always, but it's just the right thing to do. Running a restaurant is absolutely, one of the more difficult businesses I think that you can find. If you hit the lottery, invest it. Don't open a restaurant. Basically, you'll kiss your money goodbye. Now, I've been cooking since I was 14 years old. I started to understand the financial aspects of a restaurant before I was 18. Look, as a chef, you're not making enough money to go out there and open a restaurant. Going into a financial institution, you basically get laughed out. That happened to me twice. I went to private funding. The majority of people who get into restaurants realize that they might not ever see a return of their investment. And they believed in me, and that's how we were able to open up this restaurant.
I get from talking with you that you've obviously got a passion for this business, and it's extraordinarily important to you. But passion alone isn't enough.
No, being a chef, putting really great, tasty food on a plate is what gets me up in the morning every day. I need to basically have my finger on the pulse of the restaurant financially in order to make sure that I can get up and come in here and do what I do best, and that's be a chef. My business partner follows the line of making sure that our financials situation is in order. I have a really great team behind me also that works in my back office. Make sure the payroll is complete, to make sure that HR aspects are taken care of, that all of our bills are getting paid. And there's a lot of people who are behind the restaurant that you don't necessarily see on a daily basis. I know what I did with my partner's money, and I understand where it's going, and I understand what we're going to do for them to try to make a return, so that they become not only passionate about what I want to put onto the plate and create this experience, but also know that their money is sound. So,
Brian, thank you so much for being with us
absolutely.
today.
Thank you for the conversation. It was fantastic.
Wonderful restaurant.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anderson, welcome back to the show. It's astonishing to me how Brian talked about the elements of running a restaurant that have remarkably little to do with being a great chef.
No, you can be a great chef and a lousy restaurateur.
And he pretty much demonstrated that, how there's so many other things going on with it. And I agree with everything he said. I've always widely considered owning a restaurant as one of the craziest businesses you could ever get in. All your customers show up at the same time, and they all want the same kind of stuff. And you've got a perishable inventory, a largely cash business where products seem to vanish, the liquor behind the bar and the beef out of the freezer. What a crazy business to try to get into.
Well, and Brian's had an incredible amount of experience running restaurants. As young as he is, he started when he was 14. So he's got a long track record. And it is something that takes an incredible amount of effort and passion and luck.
And what he described is that no legitimate lender is going to finance him. Banks laughed him out of the building. He had to go to family and friends to raise the cash.
Yeah, that nobody else is going to be willing to do it because everybody that's a legitimate investor understands the significant risks that are involved in owning a restaurant.
And I wonder if those friends and family fully appreciated the risks they were taking by getting into that venture.
Well, probably not, but then again, owning a restaurant may be more to them about enjoying the restaurant, unlike getting a profit.
It's a lot of fun to show up, being the big cheese, getting that great table, knowing everybody there, and not having to pay the bill at the end of the night.
Yeah, not having to pay the bill and knowing that basically you not paying the bill is your return on your investment.
Hope people keep that in mind. They're literally eating and drinking their profits. Anderson, thanks.
Thank you.
At a recent conference, investment advisors were asked just one question. What is the biggest ripoff in investing today?
The biggest investment ripoff in my mind would probably the tragedy that has happened with unlicensed advisors who literally have stole money through schemes like Bernie Madoff.
Anything that you don't understand and that isn't transparent as far as what the cost is involved with it.
Besides gold being too much of a fad, insurance is often misused when markets behave like they are now.
Indexed annuities.
When people are giving advice, but it's really not advice. It's in the form of a sales. They're selling a product.
Let's head on over to Florida. Justin, welcome to The Truth About Money. How are you?
All right, how's it going?
Terrific, thanks. What's on your mind?
I have a quick question. I'm 26. I just got another job. I went from $50,000 to $60,000 a year. I'm single. I have not started a 401k yet. I'm just wondering, should I go with the company where they'll match, or should I go to a private firm, or what should I do?
You should, without a doubt, join the 401k, get that employer match. It's free money. You'll double your money even before it gets invested into anything. It's the best thing you can do, and it's all done on a tax-deferred basis. Greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't throw your scream in there, Rick, because
he's 26.
Okay, you've got to do the 401k. It's the number one thing you do when you start your new job. A lot of companies are now doing an auto enroll where you don't get the option to opt in. You have to opt out if you don't. Don't opt out. Get in. Just get in and start.
It's painless, Justin. The money will come right out of your paycheck. You won't even notice that it's missing. So it's totally painless investing. You get a tax deduction when it occurs, and the employer will kick in extra money simply because you did. This is the greatest thing in the world. If you put in, do you know what the match is in your firm?
It might be 5 or 10%, but is there a way to make it so that I get less taxes taken out if I have them take out more money?
Yes, yes. Just go to your HR department and tell them to adjust your withholding to recognize the fact that your tax burden is going down by virtue of the fact that your savings are going up. It's a winner from every perspective. Okay? So do that. Keep doing that. Do that for your entire working career. And oh, by the way, that doesn't let you off the hook, Justin. You need to be saving beyond your company retirement plan, because that's not enough to meet your future retirement needs. You're 26, you're young, you're making a good salary, you're single. I'm going to get a lot of phone calls from people wanting your phone number. And you need to keep doing that. You need to save in addition. So when you said, should I choose the 401k or investing on my own? It's really not a choice, Justin. You need to do both. The 401k is great, but it's not enough to meet your retirement income needs in another 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years. So keep saving, save more. Max out the plan at work on a pre-tax basis, and then open an IRA and save additionally beyond that. Remember, the more you save, the wealthier you're going to be. And the younger you are when you start, the wealthier you're going to be. He's 26.
Yeah.
Bills with my credit card. I'm still making payments on that March 2007 car insurance bill. I'm still owing on that somehow. And this is a true story. Sometimes, like I said, I have to pay bills with my credit card. I get in a jam. And I paid my car insurance and my cell phone bill one day. The next day, true story, bank calls me up and says, we think there might be some fraudulent charges on your card. I'm like, really? You think someone stole my card, then paid my bills with it? I don't think you know how criminals work, okay?
I wanted to ask you about your oft-stated opinion that you should keep a long, big mortgage forever. It seems to me that in most cases it'd be prudent and certainly safer to pay it off with regular monthly payments and be done with the thing. So why keep it?
Why not?
Well, I think of a lot of reasons why not. For instance, most people, when they get to retirement age, their income drops down. It's pretty nice to have your monthly payments drop at the same time and not having that mortgage. It's nice to be secure by knowing that if you have a reversal of your financial situation that you don't have that big payment hanging over your head and somebody who's going to come along and try to foreclose on your home. It seems like it gives you a lot of peace of mind, a lot of security to just be rid of the thing.
Does that sound common? Do you share that sentiment? Pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And this is why everybody loves the idea of paying off your home. It's the American dream, owning your home outright. Carrying a mortgage is, in fact, the smarter, safer way to manage your home. But it's counterintuitive because everyone still feels as you do because of the emotional attitude, the historical attitude, and the fundamental assumptions that you've made. So let me counter them. First, you're going to have a lower income in retirement. Therefore, you want to have lower expenses in retirement. Getting rid of the mortgage facilitates that. Here's the fundamental proof. Here's the one statement you need to understand. If you have a lower income in retirement than when you were working, you've blown it in financial planning. You're not supposed to have a lower income in retirement. Your income in retirement is supposed to be as high as it was before you retired. If you're planning on a lower income in retirement, you're planning on being a financial failure. So let's change the whole fundamental premise. Because if you have the income in retirement that you have prior to retirement, the fact that you have a mortgage doesn't matter anymore because you can easily afford it. You know what I'm trying to do as a financial advisor? I'm trying to help you create wealth. Because if I can help you create wealth, the debt becomes irrelevant. Does it matter if Bill Gates has a mortgage? I think he can pay it. So let's focus on creating wealth. And what you discover is that a mortgage is one of the most fabulous wealth building tools available to you. Think about it. You're going to buy a house for $500,000. You've got a choice. You can write a check for $500,000. We'll pretend that you can. Or you can borrow $500,000. What are mortgage rates these days? 4%, 5%. So what could you earn on a 30-year basis? Don't tell me, oh, the market's doing bad now. The market's been doing bad the last few years. On a 30-year basis, because we're talking about a 30-year mortgage, what is the average annual return from the investment world? Stocks, bonds, real estate, gold, oil and gas, foreign securities. You know what? It's higher than the 4% mortgage rate. There's another reason, equally important, and in fact, even more important, and it's liquidity. You ever hear the phrase, house rich, cash poor? We all know people in that situation, and that's a real crisis. I want to make sure that you have ample cash to pay your bills. Having your home fully paid, free and clear, good for you. It doesn't put food on the table. It doesn't buy medicine or clothes or gasoline or healthcare costs. Having your home paid for doesn't solve the problem. You can have no mortgage payment, but that's a small piece of the issue of homeownership, as any homeowner certainly knows. So I am a huge fan of wealth creation, and all I want to do is help you enjoy the lifestyle. I want to help you live in the home that you want to live in for as long as you can, for as long as you're alive, while preserving your ability to sustain your lifestyle. And a mortgage is a wonderful wealth-building tool. I've just given you 2 of the 11 reasons why I want you to carry a big, long mortgage. You want the other 9? Go to thetruthaboutmoneytv.com.
Hi, Rick. I have a question. I have a 401k plan, and each year I'm asked in what funds I want to allocate the money. I never know how to answer that question. Can you help?
Yeah, it's a vexing problem. You know, back in the day, you didn't have to worry about this. Back in the 70s, your employer made the decision for you. You didn't have to worry about handling the money in your retirement plan. Your boss made all the decisions. Now, that's not the case. Very empowering, isn't it? Now you get to decide how the money in your retirement account is invested. Well, that's great, except for one small problem. You have no idea how to do it. After all, how you make an investment decision is based entirely on your situation. How old are you? How much money are you investing? How do you feel about risk? Pretty fundamental questions, aren't they? Well, most of us are struggling to figure out how to do it, and we know in the back of our minds it's a pretty important decision because if we get it wrong, It could cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost earnings in retirement. So let me see if I can't provide you some help. Obviously, I can't provide the answers to all of those questions for all of our viewers right here, so we've built something at our website, thetruthaboutmoneytv.com, that you'll find of help. It's called the Guide to Portfolio Selection. Our GPS asks a variety of questions, and based on your answers, you'll get a portfolio just for you. The asset allocation, how much of your money should be in stocks versus bonds versus real estate and gold and foreign securities and government securities. We'll give you all of that available at thetruthaboutmoneytv.com. The best part about it, it's fast, it's fun, and it's free.
In 2010, the projected cost of a four-year education at Harvard was more than $93,000, more than $119,000, more than $157,000, or more than $227,000. Think you know? Check the answer, coming up on The Truth About Money.
Everybody Loves Raymond. The TV show ran for 9 years and was based on the real-life families of two men, comedian Ray Romano and writer-director Phil Rosenthal. The show was a huge success, so naturally, what do you do then? You syndicate the show globally, and Phil tells us all about it via satellite. Phil, thanks for coming onto the program.
Thank you, Rick. Nice to be here.
Raymond had 70 Emmy Award nominations. The show ran for 9 years, but you weren't an overnight sensation.
That's a very nice way of putting it. Yes, I moved into New York, and right away I joined the sea of starving actors, where for every 40,000 of us, there was 4 jobs. And so a friend of mine asked me to write a screenplay with him. I'd never done it before, and we sold that screenplay. It never got made, but I could live on what we made on that one screenplay for a year. And I was told to move to Hollywood by an agent who saw me in a play. He said, if you move to Hollywood, you will never stop working as an actor. So I packed a bag and I moved to Hollywood, and I never started working as an actor. But I had now this experience writing a little something. And so a friend of mine was out here, and he was trying to break into sitcoms. And right away we got hired, and we shot to the top on our very first sitcom, the Robert Mitchum sitcom.
And was that the sitcom where Robert Mitchum played a homeless person?
Yes, he played a homeless person who lived in a refrigerator box in Central Park. That experience, as horrible as that show was, and I think it's safe to say, I don't think I'm going to get an argument, I learned a lot. And I got a video cassette of a comedian that they were trying to make a show for. So I met this Ray Romano over lunch, and we hit it off. And, you know, the show was basically his real life. And what I didn't know about the characters in his real life, their personalities, I filled in with the personalities from my family. And it turns out that that was good to do.
And the rest, they say, is history.
Yes, and I'm happy to say he's still one of my best friends.
Did you know much about the financial side of television before you got involved with all this?
I still don't know. I really don't. I'm not famous for my money skills, which is why I'm still a little puzzled why you're having me on.
Well, because you are somebody that probably a lot of our viewers would really aspire to be. Somebody who's worked hard, done what they've wanted, more or less, and been able to be financially rewarded for it. That's the kind of dream for most people. So once that hits, how does it affect you? How do you manage it?
I have to be honest with you. I never did anything for money, honestly. And we followed our hearts. And we never for 1 second thought about changing it because we got a note that it would be more financially successful if we did.
All right, and then they come to you after the show is off the air and they say, we want you to bring Everybody Loves Raymond to Moscow.
The president of Sony, Michael Linton, called me in his office, and he told me that The Nanny was actually the first sitcom ever in Russia, meaning they took The Nanny, the American Nanny scripts, over to Russia and translated them into Russian and cast Russian actors and put it on Russian television as a Russian sitcom, The Nanya. And it did great, but as he was telling me this, he was telling me about some of the characters he dealt with over there in Moscow. And this was his idea, for me to go over there and then come back and write a fictional feature film about the creator of a show who goes to Russia to have his show translated. And I said, that sounds funny, but why not bring a camera crew over and film what would really happen? And he said, I love that idea. Would you be the guy? And so like an idiot, I said yes.
And what did you find once you got to Russia?
I had been invited to help them, and I found that once I was there, they didn't really want my help.
Now, when you were going to Russia, a friend suggested that you probably needed K&R insurance.
Yes, somebody said, oh, you're going to Moscow, make sure you have K&R insurance. I said, what's that? They said, kidnap and ransom. I said, oh, that's very interesting. I'm not going. And Sony said, oh, you don't have to worry, that doesn't happen. That never happens. I said, it happens enough for there to be an abbreviation.
So what opportunities are there, do you think, for younger people to become the new Phil Rosenthal?
You don't become Phil Rosenthal, first of all. I don't recommend it. Ask my wife, she'll tell you not something to shoot for.
How would you recommend, or what advice would you give to your kids? Your oldest is 16 or 17, right?
Yes, my oldest wants to go into theater, and I want the kids to go for their dream. Though we're here for a short time, you got to go for it. Just, earn some money on your own because you're not moving back in. But if it means rooming with 5 other kids in a terrible apartment in a bad neighborhood, you're in your 20s. That's what your 20s are for, right? You can do it because you're young and strong. I don't recommend it when you're 50, but in your 20s, I think there's nothing wrong with this. You can't have any self-respect or self-esteem if you don't do things for yourself.
Phil Rosenthal, thanks so much for being with us.
A pleasure.
We asked some of the people we met on the street what they thought was the cost of a Harvard education.
$200,000.
To $172,000.
150 grand.
More money than I would ever know.
The answers were pretty varied, but in fact, the projected cost of a Harvard education from 2010 to 2014 is over $227,000.
Before we go, a thought on the subject of keeping a big long-term mortgage. Earlier, I gave you all the rational, logical, fact-based reasons why you should never pay off your 30-year loan, why it's one of the best wealth-building tools available, and how it's old-school thinking that keeps people from looking at mortgages the right way. But let's face it, logic doesn't prevail here. Emotionally, the idea of paying off the mortgage feels good. But you know what? Cocaine feels good too. So they tell me. But it's not good for you. So it's important that you do what you know logically, intellectually, is the smart thing to do. Don't act emotionally, because that could cause you to make a dumb decision. And after all this, if you insist on acting dumb, well, there's not a whole lot that I or anyone else can do to help you. But I hope you'll go out and do what you know you should do, because that's how you achieve financial success. And that's the truth about money. I'm Ric Edelman. See you next week.